In the garage of Dr. Frank Conrad, on November 2nd, 1920, the first scheduled pre-advertised radio program in the United States went on the air. Station KDKA was broadcasting returns of the presidential race on the evening of Election Day. From a humble beginning in a Pittsburgh garage to the sumptuous studios of the national radio networks in New York, Chicago, and Hollywood, these are the years we refer to as the golden age of radio.
Here's the Manhattan merry-go-round that brings you the bright side of life, that whirls you in music to all the big night spots of New York town, to hear the top songs of the week sung so clearly you can understand every word and sing in your time.
Al Kemp, on the air for Griffin.
It's time to shine. Shine your shoes anyway.
Tony Home Permanent presents
The Golden Age of Radio is brought to you tonight by Burritt Mutual Savings Banks and WTIC. And now your host, Dick Bertel.
Good evening, and with me once again is the man with 2,500 hours of old-time radio memories on tape, Ed Corcoran. Although, Ed, I think that number is growing rapidly with all the people we're meeting.
Yes, in fact, it's going to grow tonight because our guest has promised me to some of his air checks, Dick, so they'll be added onto the collection here very shortly, I'm sure.
Well, our show is coming to you recorded from New York tonight, and our guest is Donald Buka. Donald Buka of radio, television, and motion pictures.
And the theater, too, Dick.
Yes, let's not forget the theater. Donald, it's a pleasure to have you with us, and it's a pleasure to be in your home recording this show tonight.
Well, may I say it's a great pleasure for my wife and myself to have you here.
It would really be difficult to trace your career in the hour that we have allotted to us because there is so much. So we're going to have to more or less confine it to radio, but I get the feeling that it's your first love. Am I right?
Well, let's just say that it was not really my first love. My first love was the theater. And my first love grew awfully lean in about 1943, and radio came to the rescue. And it came to the rescue in the form of a gentleman by the name of Mr. Charles Warburton of the Blue Network, WJZ it was then called, which was then ABC and NBC. They were so messed up, I don't know which was what. But Charlie Warburton had been an actor with the Ben Greet Players, and he was British to the core. And I had spent a year of rounds with not many results, I must confess. And I was at home one day and the telephone rang and a voice came booming over the phone. "This is Mr. Charles Warburton of the Blue Network. Mr. Donald Buka." And I figured it was one of my buddies from Liggett's where we used to have a 5-cent cup of coffee. Those were the good old days, 5-cent cup of coffee. And so I said, "Let's go home, boy. What can I do for you?" Fresh as they come at 17 and out of work. And Mr. Warburton continued saying, "Your name was presented to me by Mrs. Fuller, our casting director, and she thought that I might be able to get some sense of your quality over the telephone. However, young man, I think perhaps you'd best come in to see me this afternoon and have an interview." By this time I knew he was talking turkey. And I sputtered, "Thank you very much. Yes, sir, of course I will, sir." And I went in to see Mr. Warburton, who was a gentleman of the old school. There are very few of them left. And unfortunately, Charlie is no longer left. And many, many people love Charlie. I love Charlie. And Charlie had the gentility to overlook my 19, I guess I was, year-old gaucherie, and gave me a job, despite my fresh quality. And I was very bad. I was terrible. And
in the sense that you were projecting for the theater.
I was projecting for the theater. My whole, my limited background had been in the theater, so I was up there doing it. And that didn't work very well on radio. It just didn't work at all. Charlie knew it, and I was to learn it. And I was to learn it through the largesse of Charlie Warburton, who used to say, "Now, come, noodle. Don't be a noodle. Just do it properly." And he would keep inviting me back to do the show, and I did it badly for several performances. But it never seemed to really bother Charlie because he was trying to develop something. And through his kindness and generosity and patience, I began to learn a little bit about the so-called radio business, and I owe Charlie a great deal. He was a very colorful character.
Well, that's a good story.
Yeah.
That's a good story. And it, as you pointed out, launched you on a very wonderful career. Well, let's go back, Donald. Let's go back to the days of Let's Pretend. Now, that takes us back here, doesn't it?
Yeah, that was the premier children's program, and I think, there were most of the actors and actresses started when they were little kids, but you came on a little later, didn't you, Don?
Yes, this show was done on CBS for year after year after year by a marvelous, marvelous, marvelous woman called Nyla Mack. And Nyla Mack had been an actress of the old school. Not like Charlie Warburton, but not too different. But anyway, Nyla had collected a group of children, age 4, 5, with professional mothers and so on, who kept shoving them on and so on. And Nyla had grown up with these children, and these children grew up with Nyla and her mothering and her scripts, and every week we would go. I wouldn't go there. No, I was not of the original group. The original group was Mickey O'Day and
Jackie Grimes
and Sybil Trent, who is now a very fine theatrical agent and a lovely person. Willie Eggleston and a fellow by the name of Mr. Lipton and Miriam Wolfe. Oh, it was a marvelous crew. But they were little kids. And Nyla wrote these scripts based on fairy tales, and they played princes and dragons and everything. We played everything. And I came along at the very ancient age of 19 and was allowed into this group, which had begun at the age of 4. And I considered it quite a privilege. And also the check that arrived weekly from Cream of Wheat, which can't be beat, was a marvelous thing for a struggling actor who didn't know where his next cup of coffee or
bowl of cream of wheat was coming from.
So this became a family, and this was every Saturday, and this family would meet every Saturday, and we'd do our shows. And as the children developed, Nyla saw them mature, saw them marry, saw them have children, and she was the mother of them all.
We've got to play an excerpt from Let's Pretend after that setting.
Yes, I have a show, Dick, called The Yellow Dwarf, which I think is of the latest series. I'm not sure Donald would be on it, but let's hope that he is. I would like to hear how he sounded in those days.
Wouldn't be surprised if I were, but you'd never recognize me. Because I used to do old men, and little voices like this, and deep voices like that. And God knows what we did, but we did get through those shows.
Cream of wheat is so good to eat, yes, we have it every day. We sing this song, it will make us strong, and it makes us shout, hooray! It's good for growing babies and grown-ups too to eat. For all the family's breakfast, you can't beat cream of wheat.
Cream of Wheat, the great American family cereal, presents Let's Pretend. Well, hello, audience. What's on your mind?
We want Let's Pretend!
If you want Let's Pretend, you shall have Let's Pretend. Gwen, what's today's story?
Oh, it's an exciting one, Uncle Bill, about an old meanie called the Yellow Dwarf.
The Yellow Dwarf, Real mean?
Oh, brother.
Well, that's mean. How do we travel?
Well, suppose we hear Betty Jane Tyler's suggestion.
Well, how about cooling off in a speedboat?
All right, Betty Jane, a speedboat it is.
Oh, that's right. That's
One,
right.
2, 3. Okay, head straight across the lake for Let's Pretend. Turn left at the water weeds for the Yellow Dwarf. Let's go!
Once upon a time, in a land beyond the moon, the whole kingdom rejoiced at the beautiful love that existed between the gentle Princess Margot and her handsome Prince Anton. Time after time, they sought the Queen Mother's permission to marry, but she mysteriously begged them to postpone the marriage for one reason or another. while all the time she grew pale with anxiety and worry, she would not confide in anyone. Just now, we are in the underworld forest, where, at the foot of a huge and twisted orange tree, if you listen, you will discover part of the cause of the Queen Mother's unhappiness.
My goodness, Lokia! Keep your guardians quiet. Why do you have so many lions?
To keep foolish mortals away from me. Quiet, Tawny! Leo! Now, let's get to business, Yellow Dwarf. What do you want with the Queen of the Underworld?
Our plans must be completed, Lokia.
Oh, you mean about Princess Margot?
Exactly.
When I saved Margot's life as a child, the Queen Mother promised me then she'd never consent to her marriage without my permission. She dare not go back on her word. Little did I dream then that you would be the one to want her hand in marriage.
But I do. More than anything else in the world.
I've told you that Margot is deeply in love with Prince Anton.
I know that. That is why I want all the magic powers you possess to help me.
Well, I promised to work with you. What's the hurry?
Just this. My magic telescope informs me the Queen's mother is about to come to you to ask your permission for Margot to marry Anton. This is our chance. We must work quickly.
Brave queen to venture over the borderland of the underworld just to make her daughter happy. Does she know the magic formula for the cakes that pacify my lions here?
Shut them up!
Quiet!
Yes, she knows it. But much good it will do her. I want you to direct her path here to the foot of the orange tree. Then see that she falls asleep. From then on, I think I can manage. But be ready to let the lions loose when I give you this signal.
I understand, and will not fail you, Yellow Dwarf. Call me when you need me. I'll be in my cavern waiting. Leo! Tawny! Come!
See, that's quite a story. I wish I could hear the rest of it, but unfortunately we can't. The Yellow Dwarf from the series Let's Pretend. We'll return to our guest, Donald Buka, right after this.
Get smile power, the kind of confident, contented countenance that comes from cash. Salted away cash in Barrett Mutual Savings Bank at the highest legal savings bank interest rate. And you don't need a lot of money to do it. You can save a little. It's the constant, patient, every payday habit of saving that really counts. At the Big B, we love your small deposits. We know they grow for you and for us. Result, we will both have smile power. Plus, we help with our high interest rates paid to you on your savings. Barrett Mutual Savings Bank. Deposits insured to $20,000 by FDIC.
Donald, you played in the shows that we all listened to. You weren't much older than I was at the time that I was listening to these shows, and yet you were playing at least bit parts in Superman, weren't you?
Oh, yes. I used to do various parts on Superman, Nick Carter, name it, and I eventually turned up on it.
At the time that we're talking about, the time of Superman and Jack Armstrong, CBS decided to develop a children's show of their own, but this one was supposed to have an educational bent. Am I right?
That's right. This was a thing called Sparrow and the Hawk. And Lamont Johnson, who's now a very successful film and television director, played the Hawk, and I was the Sparrow, and I was just full of goodwill. And CBS's point was that they were not just going to tell an adventure story like the other across-the-board 5-time-a-week shows did, but they were going to include scientific information, like how many revolutions per minute a certain propeller would make, or how many supports were necessary for a certain kind of wing on a monoplane, or so on. So they would try to sandwich in scientific material. And my favorite memory of this show is that, being very eager to let everybody know that I was the Sparrow and the Sparrow and the Hawk, I arranged a facsimile telegram, Western Union telegram, and I sent it all over town saying that Donald Buka was co-starring in The Sparrow and the Hawk and could be heard on CBS 5 times a week. I gave the hours, and that I hoped that they would listen, that I could be reached at Radio Registry should there be additional employment. It was understood. And nothing much happened except there was a gentleman by the name of Homer Fickett who directed the Theater Guild of the Air, which was the prestige show of the era. It really was. It had marvelous, marvelous players and so on, and sponsored by United States Steel, and had a very large check coming with it, and it really was quite a plum. Directed by Homer Fickett. And much to my delight and amazement, I received a night letter from Homer Fickett saying, "Dear Mr. Buka, have received your wire regarding Sparrow and the Hawk. We of the Theater Guild are delighted to know about your wildlife proclivities, and when next the Theater Guild produces Maeterlinck's Bluebird, we will keep you in mind." Signed Homer Fickett. Well, I was delighted to see that, but sure enough, Homer came through, as they say, and he gave me a job as a reporter on a big, big show, and somebody was playing the juvenile lead had problems, and the next thing I knew, the juvenile lead was thrust into my lap. Not the actor, I mean the part. And it was mine for the show. It was with Gertrude Lawrence, and I was terribly British, and it worked.
Do you have any of the recordings that Ed has? Do you ever hear these shows again?
I never hear these shows except the other night. My wife and I were running out of things to do since the dishes had been done and all that domestic nonsense. And I discovered in the cupboard, way in the back, some Grand Central stations. So we put those on, and she thought they were pretty fine. I thought they were terrible, but she loved them, and so I was willing to be convinced. I also have some, let me see, I have some Kate Smith spot that I did. It was a marvelous thing.
Tell us about it. I'd like to hear about this.
Well, this spot was starring Claude Rains, and I played his son. And Claude Rains was the lighthouse keeper. And his son went off to the mainland for the afternoon.
And contracted rabies?
Well, he met a dog. It didn't seem to take to him too well.
Yeah.
And the next thing he knew, he was bit by the dog. And he came back and was telling his father about this terrible thing that happened, how he was bit by the dog. And suddenly I began to froth and carry on, no end.
I heard this show.
Well, it is something for the book, believe me. And the next thing I knew, according to the script, always do, a good actor always does what he's told, more or less. The next thing you knew, that this son went and bit his father. And then the son died of hydrophobia. And the next thing you knew, Claude Rains himself was slobbering all over the mic and having hydrophobia. And then Kate Smith sang When the Moon Came Over the Mountain. And that was about that. But it's a marvelous record. It was a Grand Guignol play. It was translated from the French.
Can we borrow that recording for our show? Would that be possible, do you think?
I think it might be possible. If you could stand listening to it, it's available.
I heard that show, and you were on the performing end, but I was on the receiving end, and I was under the table. I want to tell you, that was a frightening 10 minutes.
Okay, turn out the lights and listen to the excerpt, Dick.
Father, what's the matter with me? I'm burning up with thirst. I can't drink the water. I can't even look at it.
Oh, that's the fever, my boy. It's only the fever.
Fever? Father.
What is it?
Father, there's something I want to tell you. But I'm afraid.
Nothing to be afraid of, my boy. Now, come on, speak up.
Father, the other day ashore, I went out to Cousin Albert's farm.
My boy, what about it?
You remember Cousin Albert's dog? The big hunter? Father?
Fine animal.
Well, Father, just before I left, they had to shoot it.
Shoot Spot? Why?
Because he was mad. Dangerous. Father, that dog bit me.
Peter, what do you say?
He bit me, I tell you. I had this fever. This thirst that won't let me drink. Because I'm going mad, do you hear, Father? I'm going mad.
No, Peter, you're wrong. It was one of the other dogs that bit you.
No, it was Spot. That's what I felt creeping over me all day. That terror. I'm going to die. I'm going to die mad as that dog.
No, my boy, no.
Father, I can't die like this. Not here. Out on the rock. All alone in this storm. Father, help me, please.
Oh, it's all right, my boy. I'll go ashore. I'll bring help somehow.
No, don't leave me here alone. Don't leave me, Father.
All right, son, now, all right. I'll stay. I'll stay.
Father, where are you, Father?
I'm here, my boy. I'm here. No. I'm there. You trust the rock, son. Nothing can harm us here, nothing.
Father, don't say that. You're only tempting it. Daring it to destroy us.
You lie still, my boy. Please, lie still.
I can't. I'm on fire.
I'm here, my boy. Now, close by you.
I don't want to hear. Keep away from me. I'm going mad. Mad as that dog.
Peter.
Go away. Don't touch me. Go away.
Peter, please.
I told you to keep your hands off me. I told you.
Peter, let go of me. Peter, don't make me do this to you. Peter, please. Peter. Oh, my God. Dear God, I've killed him. I've killed my own boy. I've stripped. Peter! See. I curse you, see. Can you hear me? I curse your evil, black-hearted treachery. I curse you for taking my boy from me. Because I am here to snatch away your victims. This was your revenge. That's why you've taken my boy. But I'm still here. You haven't destroyed me. You haven't... Ship. There's a ship out there. The light. I forgot the light. She'll drift towards the rock. She'll strike the rock. And that's what you wanted me to see. But you forgot to reckon with us, with the rock and the light, and with me. I'm coming. The light will shine again. Switch for the light. Here. This is your answer, see? Here is the light that will teach you as long as I live. There. She's veering away. She's safe. Now has the last laugh, eh? Peter, my boy. Peter. What? Why, my hand. It's bleeding. It's torn. Why, it must have happened when Peter and I remember when I reached for his throat. Peter bit my hand. And Peter was... That's right. Scream, you out there. Scream. You've beaten me, and I'll die as Peter did. You knew the rock belonged to the sea, and all the time I believed it was on my side. Old friend, I called it. Old friend. Now you must be laughing at me. Old friend. Old friend. Old friend.
For a marvelous performance. Thank you so much.
That is a frightening story, I want to tell you. It is effective, just as effective today as it was then. Do you miss doing this type of work?
Of course. Everyone who did it has a great nostalgia for it because you worked with the same people. You did many different roles than you'd ever dare dream of doing under today's, because it was not visual. It was all imagination. And this was the wonderful thing about radio, that we weren't too specific, that you could try anything. You could just take flight, and as large as your fancy was, the more imaginative you were, the more it appealed to an audience. And I loved listening to radio shows. There was so much you could do in radio with sound effects and with imagination, even with silence. And, you know, the great example of this was Orson Welles' famous show.
The War of the Worlds.
The War of the Worlds. And this, you could not do any other medium. The other thing was that you could go to one show and you'd be a Western cowboy and you'd do your thing there, and then you'd run right across the hall. Hey, be a gangster. And you say, yeah. So who's in on it, huh? So what are you going to do about it, huh? And then you'd go and be terribly British, you know, and you'd do a British show, and nobody would be kidding anybody. You'd be using these things. You get better and better at them. Some of them would be terrible, but you get better. And you do the Frenchman, you know. It's very easy to do that. And you play the gorilla. You play there's a standard thing called the Continental. Well, the Continental speaks somewhat like this. You don't know whether he's from Germany or whether he's from Russia or whether he's from Czechoslovakia, and nobody cares.
I think he's from Hans Conried.
We'll get back to Donald Buka right after this.
Burritt Mutual Savings Bank asks you this question: why should you save? Burritt Mutual Savings Bank will also try to answer. The reasons for saving are almost endless. 1, it can open the door to your new home. 2, it can give you the means to new furniture, a new car, a boat, a vacation. 3, it can help send your children to college. 4, it can give you that glorious feeling of independence and prosperity. Don't ever feel that you have to have large amounts to save. At Burritt, deposits as small as $1 are welcome, really welcome. Start now and save for all these reasons and perhaps some of your own. If you can't save a lot, save a little. At Burritt Mutual Savings Bank, where deposits are safe and earn good dividends. Start your account tomorrow.
Member FDIC. You're listening to the Golden Age of Radio on WTIC in Hartford. Tonight's program is brought to you by Burritt Mutual Savings Bank and WTIC. Now, once again, your host, Dick Bertel.
Our guest tonight, Donald Buka, and we're recalling some very, very pleasant memories. What about the story of a bagpipe player? Do you remember that one?
That had to do with Ken McGregor. Ken McGregor gave me my first job when I was 12 years old at station KDKA playing Tiny Tim in the Christmas Carol. And not only did he give me my first job, I got $12, which I think was subscale, but nevertheless it was a lot of money to a 12-year-old. And he had a thing based on the sunken city. It was a mystical thing about, I think Brigadoon eventually had to do with the same kind of story. And he had a bagpipe. Bagpipe was very, the ghostly bagpipes were to appear and disappear. And he went to great lengths to find a bagpipe player, got a bagpipe player. Then we put him in the studio, and he was too close to Mike. Then he put him in the control room, and it was too far off Mike. And he kept replacing the bagpipes. Finally, he found the place for the bagpiper in the airlock. So, okay, he's placed in the airlock. Relayed cues are made. We're on the air. They throw the cue to the bagpipe, and the bagpipe player is so excited by this whole debut on radio that he blows his reed right into the bagpipes, and not a peep comes out of him.
So what happened?
Someone said, hear the bagpipes. And there was a beat, and someone said, yes. Aren't they mysterious? And we went on from there, kept hearing bagpipes that didn't exist. But the show went on.
Donald Buka, is that your real name or is that your stage name?
Does the makeup hurt?
I'm building up to a story about Sidney Greenstreet.
Oh, well. Yes, Donald Buka is, I'm happy to say, my real name. And when I first joined the Luntz as a dewy-eyed 17-year-old lad, Alfred Lunt Linfontaine, they decided that I should have, if I were going to be a great leading man, I should have a different name. because for many reasons. And Alexander Woolcott was alive, so they called in Alexander Woolcott. And they called in Dickie Wharf, who was a member of the company in Sydney Green Street. And Mr. Woolcott said, yes, he thinks Buka should be changed. The A ending was weak. It was like saying Alfred Lunt. Alfred Lunt was good and strong. Lynn Fontaine and Alfred Lunt was good, and the repetition of the syllables and the consonants was very fine combination. And if you played a certain note on a fiddle, London Bridge would crumble. All this having to do with numerology and astrology, somehow relating to this bewildered 17-year-old me. So they decided, yes, I should change my name, and they all met and put... Oh, Thelma Schnee was in the company. They thought she should have a name change, too. She was an actress in the Cornish Green. So they put names in a hat, and Miss Fontaine drew the names from the hat. And the name she drew was, believe it or not, Donald Buka.
My word.
And no one would admit having put that name in, but I considered it a sign from heaven, and here I am, Donald Buka.
Oh, good. I'm glad that I didn't go by the names of the streets that I lived on. My name would now be Brunner Edenwald.
Not bad, not bad.
You were associated with a group called Air Features, Donald. Do you recall a little about that?
Oh, my goodness, you really have jarred me with that one. Yes, I certainly do. Air Features was the bottleneck of the industry. That means they had more soap operas per diem than anybody, anywhere. And there was a lady named Frances von Bernhardy, who was casting director. And she was a very difficult lady and knew what she wanted, and it had to be her way or it wasn't going to be. And Frances von Bernhardy, for example, she would never leave a message. Her message would be that the actor should call her direct, not through your message service, because if there was any confusion, she wanted to know where it was. Anybody who did an Air Feature show that didn't dare work in the theater was beneath Air Features. Either you were a radio actor or you were one of those other things that worked around the stages. And every 6 months, you could register for an interview with Miss von Bernhardy. And she would see. She had an open-door policy every 6 months. So I had about 3 of these 6-month interviews, and every time I would go in to see Miss von Bernhardy, and she was blonde and kind of glacial behind a very large desk and very busy. She'd say, how are things? And you'd say, oh, they're very good, Miss von Bernhardy. Why, 2 weeks ago, I got a call. I almost had a job at NBC, but CBS, there's something I think coming up next week, and things are just fine, Miss von Bernhardy. I'm hoping I can work for Air Features soon, too. And she would say, well, if anything comes along, you'll hear from me. And that was your 6-month interview. Well, this went on about 4 times for me, and this one day it came time for my 6-month interview, and it was raining, and I hadn't worked in a year, and I didn't know what I was going to do next, and I put on my old battered raincoat and my old battered hat, and I clomped over to Air Features on Park Avenue, and I went upstairs, and I was admitted to Miss von Bernhardy's presence, and came the question, how have things been? And I said, well, Miss von Bernhardy, I don't know what to tell you. I said, things have been terrible. I said, I haven't been able to work, and I don't know what I'm going to do next. I said, it's just, I don't want to depress you. I said, but I just feel terrible about the business and the way things are going, and I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. And she said, well, if anything comes along, you'll hear. I got home, the phone was ringing. What was it? Miss von Bernhardy of Air Features. Would I appear on whichever one of the shows it was? Would I please call back and tell her? And from that time on, I worked for Air Features through Frances's. But I had to level with her before, and this was, and she saved more actors and actresses. But no nonsense. When you really came down to it, and you really talked to her, as a person, she would respond. And I'm very, as I say, Charlie is my great love, and Frances I will never forget. She was tough, but she was there when.
Got you back on going on your career again.
Yeah,
very good.
That's a beautiful story. Yeah. Ed, are you going to play the story about the Space Blues?
Oh yes,
I don't know the name of the story.
This is, I think, it shows Don in a very good role, because He plays a very meek, understanding character, and then suddenly, as the script progresses, he changes into something entirely different. You know, it's two different Donald Bukas you will hear. And again, it's in the science fiction area, which is my favorite, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. And
it was written by...
well, that's your department, Donald. I don't remember that.
Who is our greatest science fiction writer today?
Well, Ray Bradbury would be the
That's
best.
exactly who wrote this particular show.
And you remember
these were
doing
all
this
Ray Bradbury series.
Yeah, you remember that very well, that particular show, too. The space blues, as you will hear, is really a disease, kind of rare today, but it will happen in the years ahead, maybe, as we get into space travel. Right?
Yeah, if we don't watch it.
Oh, here we go.
How are we doing, Collier?
Coming on the bearing, sir. That's 4, 3, 2, 0. We've intersected the course vector.
Good work, Collier.
Course is corrected, sir. We're ready to go into atomic overdrive anytime you say.
All right. Stand by.
Yes, sir.
Now hear this. Now hear this. Prepare for maximum acceleration. Bridge to engine room. Kill your rockets.
Rockets out.
Fire up number 1 cyclotron.
Number 1 ready.
Fire up number 2.
Number 2 ready.
Withdraw your dampening rods.
Fission chamber ready. Blast tubes cleared. All generators operating at capacity. Take it over, sir.
Go into overdrive at the count of 0. 3 seconds, Mr. Collier. 3, 2, 1, 0.
0.
How are we doing, Collier?
On course, sir. She's running hot and true.
My compliments, Lieutenant. This job would have done your father credit, and he was the best navigation officer I ever saw.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Start your gyros. Put her on robot control. All right, the bridge is yours, Mr. Collier. If you need me, I'll be in Dr. Smithson's office.
Yes, sir.
Well, Lewis, I see you got us off the ground.
You can thank young Collier for that. Chip off the old block.
You knew his father?
As a matter of fact, I knew him very well. First-rate spaceman.
Oh, is he the one
Yes,
who...
yes. He was lost in the galactic barrier on the second ship we sent out to Volta.
Lewis, just what do you think this galactic barrier is?
Oh, your guess is as good as mine, Doc. All I know is that 5 ships have gone into it, and none of them have come back out.
You think it's a myth? How about Mestrovic's theory that it's a time warp in space? That the ships reach it and slip into another dimension?
I think that's a lot of rubbish. My theory is that the galactic barrier is nothing more than a radioactive layer of some kind.
Why do you say that?
Well, we know that radar signals bounce off it like they were hitting an invisible glass wall. And we know that it destroys our ships and crews in some way. There's no other logical explanation.
What makes you think we can get through it, Lewis?
Because we're ready for it. The others weren't. The entire hull of this ship is completely shielded with lead. We can crack through any radioactive cloud ever detected. Besides, we're equipped with some new UHF radio devices that should enable us to maintain radio contact with Earth. Nothing can happen. Absolutely nothing.
Now, who are you trying to convince?
Myself, I suppose.
Lewis, you've had your share of glory. First skipper to reach the moon back in 1962. You could have retired. Why are you risking this trip?
5 ships are missing. Men like Prentice, Margetts, and young Collier's father. I'm tired of seeing good men fed into that meat chopper.
Then why are we going to Volta?
We haven't any choice, Smitty. We're in a race, the kind of race where men and ships are expendable. According to the Interspace Code, the first nation to reach Volta can claim it.
Well, personally, I want no part of it.
Doc.
I'll have to play physician, morale builder, and mother substitute for 112 slightly nervous men.
Well, your morale doesn't sound too good, Doc.
As morale officer, I can state without fear of contradiction, it is terrible. And something tells me as we approach that galactic barrier, I'm not going to be alone.
How's the morale, Smitty?
The men know we're getting closer to the barrier. They're beginning to show a little tension, Lewis.
Oh, how's their physical condition? Any sickness?
About half the crew has come down with space blues.
I was afraid of that. Are they bad?
Same as usual. Lips and hands with a bluish cast. Eyes are sensitive to infrareds.
I don't know. When I first started flying these tin cans, nobody ever heard of space blues.
Well, now there's a theory it's caused by the terrific acceleration of atomic overdrive. Change in gravity affects the circulation.
What do you think?
I think it's psychosomatic. I've noticed that the same men who get space blues under tension on a ship tend to get blue coloration back on Earth when they're upset. I guess it's just an occupational disease of space navigators.
Uh-huh. You think it's just nerves, then?
Well, young Collier's got a bad case. I think it's tension from overwork.
Maybe you need some vitamins.
Louis, when will you realize that vitamins are not a panacea for all the troubles of mankind?
Hello? Star Cloud to Earth. Can you hear me, Earth?
Hello, Skipper. I can barely read you. We're getting heavy static from sunspots.
That's not sunspots, Charlie. We're right on top of the galactic barrier. Getting a +7 radar bounce. Expect to hit the barrier almost any second now.
Good luck, Skipper.
If we crack the barrier and come through still in one piece, I'll try to get back to you on the high-frequency band.
Gotcha, Skipper. Don't worry. I'll be waiting.
So long, Charlie.
So long, Star Cloud.
Must be getting awfully close now, Captain. Echo's bouncing back so fast it's almost beating the signal.
When they go inside, hold on to your hat. That's when we run into the wall.
Any second.
Hold on.
Oh, here goes nothing.
Here it comes.
Captain.
Nothing happened.
We made it. We made it, Captain. No radiation, no time warp, no nothing. Now, the crew's gone crazy, sir.
Let them. They've earned it. Doc, can you break out a few bottles of snakebite serum for medicinal purposes?
I sure can, Louis.
This goes for a celebration. How's your morale now?
It couldn't be better. How's yours?
Couldn't be better. What the...
Condition red. Condition red. Radiation detected. Condition red. Radiation detected.
Holy mackerel. Look at the needle on that indicator.
Paulison.
Yes, I see it, Captain. Picking radiation like crazy.
What's it like?
Well, it's a strong impulse.
What kind?
I don't know. It's too long for a cosmic ray, too short for UHF. Whatever it is, sir, the ship is lousy.
Well, track it down, triangulate it, and make it fast. I want a directional fix.
Yes, sir.
Engine room.
Yes, sir.
That radiation must be in the overdrive pile.
No, sir, it isn't here, sir.
Are you certain?
Yes, sir.
All right, keep checking. Well, there's only one thing left to do. Paulison, get a Geiger counter. We're going to start combing this ship inch by inch.
Yes, sir.
All right, turn it on.
Yes, sir. All right. Ready, Captain.
We'll check the atomic guns first. Come on. We'll cut through the officers' quarters here to ordnance. Now turn here.
Well, wait a minute, sir.
Huh? What is it?
The signal's weaker now.
Yeah. Let's go back. Hold it. Seems strongest right about here.
Well, it doesn't make sense.
Whose cabin is this?
Lieutenant Collier's.
Collier?
Oh, he's down in nav control, sir.
Oh, try the door.
It's not locked, sir. Oh, it's in here, all right. Listen to that counter. Strongest over here.
Open that wall cabinet.
It's locked, sir.
Smash it. Shut off that Geiger counter. Now, what do you make of this, Paulison?
Well, it looks like some sort of portable transmitter, sir. Must be foreign manufacture. I don't recognize the calibration symbols at all. I've never seen anything like it.
Which raises a small question. What is Lieutenant Collier doing with a transmitter in his cabin?
I don't know, sir.
Well, I intend to find out, Paulison. Get down to nav control and bring Collier up to the bridge on the double.
Well, hadn't we better find some way to shut this thing off first?
I know. A way? Lieutenant Collier, I'm going to ask a few simple questions, and I want a few simple answers.
Yes, sir.
May I have your wristwatch, Lieutenant?
Sir?
Your wristwatch.
Yes, sir.
Paulison, turn on that Geiger counter.
Yes, sir.
Hold this watch next to it.
Yes, sir.
That's all. Lieutenant, if you hadn't any close contact with that transmitter, how do you explain the radioactivity of this watch?
Well, I don't, sir.
I think you'd better. To whom were you sending those signals?
Condition red. Condition red.
There's your answer, Captain.
What is this, Collier?
Alien spaceship approach. Alien spaceship approaching.
Collier, who's aboard that ship? All right, now talk!
Very well, Captain. My mission seems completed.
Your mission? Are you admitting that you're an agent of a foreign power?
I'm stating it.
What nation?
No nation, Captain.
What?
I am an agent of the Voltan government.
What?
The government of the planet of Volta.
You're crazy.
Are you so stupid, Captain, that you think your people are the only ones who can invade another planet?
What do you mean?
We've had agents operating on Earth since 1945.
I don't believe you.
What do you think happened to those 5 ships, Captain? Where do you suppose we got our information? Your language, your culture, family background.
Your appearance, you look like...
Like Commander Collier? Well, is that so surprising, Captain? You see, Captain, we had a living model.
I ought to kill you.
That would be very foolish, Captain. I would advise you to surrender without delay.
Alien ship now coming into ordnance range.
I'll deal with you later, Collier. Paulison?
Yes, sir.
Put this man in irons, take him away.
Don't worry, sir. We'll take good care of him.
Carpenter, Robinson.
Gunnery.
Gunnery Richardson.
What's the range?
10,000 meters. They're closing fast.
Put your guns on radar tracking.
Tracking. Coming on the bearing.
Fire. Fire, Richardson. Richardson, did you hear me? Fire! What's the matter down there? Did you hear me? Richardson, answer me.
It's no use to shout, Captain.
Collier, how did you get loose? Where's Paulison?
Lieutenant Paulison is dead.
All stations! Lieutenant Collier has escaped. Seize him, men!
Don't waste your breath. Your men can't hear you, Captain.
What?
Those still alive are my men.
You're lying.
No, Captain. Every ship that has ever left Earth was controlled by a Voltan crew.
That's impossible. Those were hand-picked men.
Hand-picked by us.
I don't believe you.
No? Then why not call for help?
Carpenter, Robinson, Haley, report.
You see, Captain?
Carpenter, Robinson, Haley.
It's quite useless, Captain. I would advise you to sit very quietly and do nothing.
Very well, Collier. You've beaten us. What now?
The ship will be taken to Volta for, shall we say, further experimentation.
I see. Of course, there's one thing you hadn't counted on.
Just what is that, Captain?
Carpenter! Are you in there, Lieutenant Carpenter? They can't all be dead. There must be one alive. Smitty, Dr. Smithson! Smitty, what have they done to him?
Louis,
Dirty. Don't talk.
I must lean closer. There's not much time. Louis, space blues.
Space blues? What is it, Smitty? What are you trying to tell me?
All men with space blues. Voltans.
Let me help you.
No, Louis. Get message back to Earth. Voltan, 5th column. Watch out for space blues.
Smitty. Oh, Smitty.
Captain Thorson, you can't hide from us now. Come back to the bridge and surrender, or my men will come and get you.
Featured in the cast were Louis Van Ruten as Captain, Donald Buka as Collier, Wendell Holmes as Charlie, and Bill Griffiths, Bill Smith, Matt Crowley, and Ken Williams. Your announcer, Don Pardo. X-1 was directed by Fred Way and is a transcribed NBC Radio Network production.
Well, that's a story. I can see what you mean by 2 Donald Bukas.
Yeah, I always like that. That's really one of the better shows of the series, no question about it.
That's the minimum
count. We'll get back to our guest, Donald Buka, right after this.
Buying a new car in 1972? If so, bank credit may cost you less. At Burritt Mutual Savings Bank, we offer low-cost, convenient auto loans, but we can do more than just put you on the road. We help you establish credit with a bank. We give you cash buyer leverage, and above all, you either start or continue a relationship with a large and progressive mutual savings bank. Once your credit is established, you may want to purchase a new home, improve your existing home, or take a personal loan to finance your trip across the country. Whatever your borrowing needs, it will pay you to start doing business with the Big B, Burritt Mutual Savings Bank. Once an established Burritt customer with good credit, you become a preferred Burritt borrower. So don't wait. Come into any office of the Big B, Burritt Mutual Savings Bank.
Well, Don, this is a question that we usually ask our guests, and I think you're going to have a surprise for us tonight in your answer. But of all the shows you've ever done on radio, what's your favorite?
Well, quite frankly, my favorite is The Eternal Light, because the caliber of writing on that was very, very unusual. It dealt with human beings, human emotions. Yes, it was a Bible show, but it seemed to have always managed to have been written on a higher plane than the usual material that we dealt with. Now, Ray Bradbury's show also was a very high caliber, but Eternal Light dealt with social issues and personal issues and complicated morality and marvelous, marvelous feelings for tradition, kind of like Fiddler on the Roof is so well capsulated. So that Eternal Light was really my favorite show, and I'm very happy to say that occasionally I still have an opportunity to work that show and to meet with my many friends on that show because it still is on the air.
Now, when you and your friends get together, it must be like old home week.
It's just like this show. We bring up all the memories we dredge up everything. I must also say that this particular show, Eternal Light, is worked by more actors of stature and note and reputation who do it for practically nothing because they have the same feeling for this show that I have. And this is why people who've gone on into other fields and made tremendous accomplishments in other fields keep returning to this particular show because they respect the show, they respect what it represents and the quality of the material.
Don Buka, we've run out of time, but certainly we haven't run out of stories. There are many, many others that I wish we did have time to include. It's been great fun visiting with you.
It's been very nice being with you all, and I look forward to listening to other broadcasts of the same show and hearing my friends carry on the way we've carried on tonight.
Don Buka, thanks so much for letting us visit with you.
It's been a great pleasure, and thank you.
This is Dick Bertel.
This is Ed Corcoran.
Good night.
Tonight's edition of the Golden Age of Radio was brought to you by Burritt Mutual Savings Bank and WTIC. Location engineer was Dick Swerko. Studio engineer Bob Shirago. The program was edited and produced by Brian Hartnett.
Pepper Young's Family. The story of your friends, the Youngs, is brought to you by Camel.